Okay, so now we're going to try to create a test here in the Blackboard platform. So to start, we click on courses and then we scroll down to the course that we're going to create the exam. Click on that. And then when you're here, scroll down the course management panel. Make sure that you expand course tools and scroll down to test, surveys, and pools. So you click on that and then click on tests. Then there is currently no test here in this course site. So we're going to start and build one. So we click on build test and then we're going to put in a name for the test. So trial test. Then you may or may not put a description about the test. Then you click on submit. After clicking on submit, you will be presented with the test canvas, and then we start to create our questions by typing in the questions and the choices one by one. So to begin, we click on create question and then we select what type of question we want to put in our exam. So the most common one would probably be a multiple choice question. So question title is optional. You may or may not put something there. So let's just go ahead and go straight to the question text. So for the question text, let's just say who is the current mayor of Pasig City? And then we scroll down, answer numbering. You may choose whether there's none or if there's ABC. Okay, so keep it at vertical, the answer orientation. And then the number of answers by default is 4 because ABCD. And then there is a radio button here that will indicate whether that choice is the correct choice. So let's say, for example, our choices are then we should not forget to click on the radio button of the correct choice. And then we click on submit. So here, you see here the default points, number of points is 10, but we don't want that or else MedEd is going to question us. So we click on that and change it to whatever point we want, or we can go to question settings and then scroll down to scoring and then indicate that the default point value is 1. And then we click on submit. So if we do that, our subsequent points questions will have just 1 point. So here, when we review the question, who is the current mayor of Pasig City, and these are the choices, and you have to make sure that the correct answer is the one with the check icon next to it. All right. You see, there is a lot of work behind just creating one question. So if we go up here, we can see that we can create more questions, reuse questions if we have some other quizzes that we did from before, or what I would like to do is to upload questions. So when we click on that, Blackboard is going to ask us to upload a file by clicking on browse, and then we have to upload a file from our computer, but it's not as simple as it seems. If we click here on the help on uploading questions, there is a certain file format that Blackboard requires. So for example, we want to create a multiple choice question. This is the way that we should type that question, and the file should be a tab delineated text file. So we're going to discuss that in a while. So we close this, and then we leave this for a while, and then we go to Microsoft Word, where we usually type our questions. So here, these are 3 questions that I typed earlier. So before we begin, we need to remove all of the numbers and letters in the choices. So to do that, we select all by pressing Command or Control A, and then we click on the numbering button, and it's going to remove all of those numbers and letters. We deselect it and then start question by question. So we select the question and its choices. We copy this by pressing Command and Control C, and then head over to Microsoft Excel. So in Excel, this is the template that I provided. So we can insert one column to the left first, then probably expand that, and then click on the a cell, and then we click on paste. When we paste, this is what we see. I want you to click on this clipboard icon and click on match destination formatting. Okay, so this is not what we need. If you notice on the template, the stem is here on one column and the choices are on different columns, and the key is on the last column, while in this, when we pasted it, everything is just in one column. So how can we do this? We just select all of these cells, the question and the choices. We copy it by pressing Command Control C. We click on the cell on the stem column, and then click on paste, but choose transpose. So if we transpose now, click on escape, we see here that the choices are now in their corresponding columns, and then we just type in the key here. So the correct answer, let's say, is letter A. Okay, so you can delete this already. So you can start by and copy the next question and answers. So you copy again, you go to Excel, you paste it, match destination formatting, copy it again, and then go to the second row in this question column, click on this drop down menu and transpose. All right, so escape, delete, go back to your Word, copy, paste, and then copy again, go to the corresponding row, press transpose. So if we are done copying all of the questions, we can delete this column already, and it's just going to leave us with the template that we started with. So let me just let's answer it, and it should be C, and then this should be D. Okay, so several things here. So all of these columns should be filled out. The STEM column, choices A to D, should have choices there, and the key, this is the most important part, the key should not be empty, and they should all be in a sheet called sheet 1. All right, and then now we open the tool that I shared with you. Let's just open it. It's called BBMCQ tool. And then you're going to see this pop-up window. It's going to ask you whether you want to enable macros or disable it. Macros are mini programs inside the file itself, because that's what we need for the tool to work. So of course we want to enable macros. And then you're going to see here there are instructions on what you should do, and these are the things that we are going to do next. So we go back to our exam file, and with sheet 1 selected, you click on the developer tab, and then click macros, select the macro name, convert to text, and then click on run. What it does is actually create another sheet with the name output, and it's now converted the questions and the choices that you made here and converted it to a format that Blackboard will understand, but it's not yet done. So you select all of your questions, copy it, then you open your text editor, text edit, and click on new document, and then you should format, make plain text, and then paste. Now the problem here is that whenever you get something from Excel and put it into a word processor, it's going to put quotation marks on the text. So if we use this, Blackboard is going to return an error. That's why what we're going to do is to remove all of these quotation marks, and that's easily done. Just click on edit, find and replace, and then on the search bar we enter the quotation mark. We'll leave the replace field blank, and then click on all. Make sure that the replace option is checked, and then click on all, meaning replace all. Now it removed all of the quotation marks in the document. Click on done, and then save it by pressing Command or Control S. Then let's just call it sample upload quiz, then save. Now we're ready to go back to Blackboard. We click on browse, then we look for our text file. So our text file is sample upload quiz. It's a plain text document, and we click on open. Now it's there, and the default point per question is 1 when we click on submit. And now we should see all of our questions in the quiz. So the question, the stem, the choices, and with the corresponding correct answers with the check icon next to it. So I think this is going to be very useful, especially if we're going to input 100 questions or more, especially for comprehensive examinations. When we're done, we will click on tests, and we should see that our test is already here. If we click on edit, all of the questions that we placed before should be there. Now that we're done creating a test, let's now deploy it. If we go to the test surveys and polls and click on tests, we will see that our previously created quiz is not yet deployed. So how are we going to deploy our quiz? We just go to the content tab and then put it in a folder that will contain our quizzes. So here we created a folder for quizzes and exams. You can choose to hide this first for the students. So you click on it and then now it's empty. You can put your test here. So click on the assessments, test, and we see here the test that we created before. And when we click on submit, right? We can play with the options here, or you can leave it as is. And then it is recommended that we allow multiple attempts. And then we set a number of attempts. This is to account for the possibility that the students who are answering the question may have some internet connection problems. So let's say we will allow at least at most 3 attempts, and then we should score the last graded attempt, and then we can choose to force completion, meaning the student cannot save and then go back. So let's just check that for now, and then set a timer. So let's say this is a 4-point quiz, or let's say it's a 10-minute quiz. Then auto submit, probably yes if it's a timed exam. And then we can schedule when the test is going to be seen by the students. Let's say, for example, that they will see the exam on March 30 at let's put it at 7 in the morning, and then that this quiz will be taken down after, let's say, a week at 7 a.m. as well. So we can set a password if we want to, but I think this is not necessary. This is going to be handy if we want to make sure that they can really not access until we provide the necessary login credentials. So restrict location, for our setting now, it is not recommended that we restrict their location, because they most probably will answer this in their own homes, so no restrictions. And then you can send the test to a specific user or group if necessary. If you don't select it, then all of the students enrolled in the course will be able to get access to the quiz. We can set a due date. Setting a due date will allow you to reveal the correct answers only after the due date. So this actually will prevent them from leaking the answers to their classmates if they took the quizzes on different occasions. So let's say the due date would be on was selected earlier, April 3, and then we closed the quiz at 7. Let's say we want to reveal at 9 o'clock, and then probably we'll You can choose to allow or not allow the students to be late, to submit it late. And then here we can select after the due date. We will show the answers. Okay, and then you can select whether you're going to show all of the questions all at once or one at a time. It will probably be a better idea to show the questions all at once, because it will minimize the chance that the student will have an interruption in their internet connection in between questions. Then you may or may not randomize the order of the questions. Then you click on Submit. Okay, now, so we have previously created a test and successfully deployed it by adding it into the Content tab. And now we're going to try and require that the test be answered via Respondus Lockdown Browser. So we're going to do that by scrolling down the course tools and go to Respondus Lockdown Browser, and it's going to load. Then you can view some of the tutorials or the introduction to the Respondus Lockdown Browser here, or you can just continue to the RLD browser. And now we're going to see the tests that are present in this module and in this course. And you see here, this is the name of the test. And you also see here whether they are required to use a lockdown browser or not. So since we want this test to be answered via lockdown browser, we click on this down button and then settings. And then we can change to require Respondus Lockdown Browser for this exam. So we click on that. And then we can again put a password if we want to, or we can also specify some other settings for our Respondus Lockdown Browser. If they're going to, this is to tweak the security settings of your lockdown browser. And then when you're done, you can click on Save and Close. Okay, so here you notice that our test has been renamed, and it says now that it's trial test requires Respondus Lockdown Browser. So, and also you see here that the test, the lockdown browser option is now required. So this tells you that the action that we did was successful. And now when the students open this, they will have to use the Respondus Lockdown Browser, or else they're going to have an error and a notification that they need to answer this specific test using only the Respondus Lockdown Browser.